there is a certain parallel between the holiday of Sukkot and the holiday of Pesach. And the Talmud also teaches us they're actually, in terms of the calendar, they're diametrically opposite of each other. One is around the spring equinox and one is around the fall equinox, a little bit later. Both of them are a little bit later than the actual equinox, but they're symmetric in a certain sense. We have 6 months of the winter and 6 months of the summer. Starting Tishrei, which just started with Rosh Hashanah, we have the second group of 6 months, and they correspond to the first group of 6 months. So Nisan corresponds to Tishrei. Iyar corresponds to Mar Cheshvan, etc. I discussed this in much further detail on a different lesson, and I'm not going to go into this right now, but at any rate, the 15th of Nisan and the 15th of Tishrei are, of course, the 2 longest holidays, the holiday of Matzot, what we usually call Pesach. Technically, Pesach is the korban that's brought right before, and then there are 7 days of eating matzah. And then the holiday of Sukkot. So the 2 correspond to each other, and there is actually something we learn from it in terms of practical halacha as well, and that is that there is a mitzvah to eat bread in Sukkah at night on the 15th, on the first day of Yom Tov. And midrabanan, of course, outside the land of Israel, the second day of Yom Tov is like the first one. Just like the Pesach Seder outside the land of Israel, we do the same thing on the 16th as well, because it's Safek. We consider it as if we don't know at the time when the calendar wasn't fixed. 16th could have been the correct 15th if the Rosh Chodesh, if the new moon would be seen a day later. So that's why we celebrate the second day of Yom Tov, and we do everything on the second Seder as on the first Seder. Of course, in Israel, they have only 1 day of Yom Tov, except for Rosh Hashanah. So on Sukkot, on the first night, and outside the land of Israel the second night, we have to eat kezait of bread in the Sukkah at night. And the reason is because just like there is a mitzvah to eat matzah on the night of Pesach, on the Seder night, so too there's a similar mitzvah, corresponding mitzvah, to eat a piece of bread in the Sukkah. The practical nafkamina, what's called in Aramaic, the practical corollary of this law is as follows. According to Ramah, the main Ashkenazic authority, even if there is rain on the first night of Sukkot, usually when it's raining we don't have to sit in Sukkah and we don't eat in Sukkah, but on the first night you have to eat kezait, according to Ramah, even if it's raining. On the other hand, the Vilna Gaon and many Rishonim that he quotes consider this Sukkah at the time of rain as if it's not a Sukkah at all. There is no mitzvah to sit in a Sukkah when it's raining. So there's no point, according to him, to eat the bread in the Sukkah on the first night if it's raining. So what do? You wait till the rain stops, according to the Vilna Gaon. So that's the real corollary, and that is that on regular days, if let's say on the night of Shabbat you come home and it's raining, you just eat at home and that's it. But if it's, I'm talking about Shabbat, it falls on Sukkot, of course. But if it's going to be the first night of Sukkot, if you come home and it's raining, you should wait till the rain stops, if it's planning to stop. Today there's usually weather forecast, so you could know beforehand more or less with great probability if the rain is going to stop anytime soon. So according to the Vilna Gaon, the whole night you have to basically wait. Some people say that you shouldn't be that strict, but maybe half a night at least. What usually is done, most people don't want to wait till midnight either. It's not such a great idea to eat the meal of Yom Tov so late. So what most people would do is they would eat kezait of bread in the Sukkah while it's raining to fulfill the opinion of Ramah, since that's our great Ashkenazic authority. So most Ashkenazi Jews follow Ramah. And secondarily, if later the rain stops and you're still not sleeping, then you should go and eat another kezait in the Sukkah to fulfill the obligation according to the Vilna Gaon. But to actually sit and wait for hours and hours, unless it's really going to be soon, according to weather forecast, if in an hour or two the rain will stop, then it's worthwhile to wait. But if it's going to be very long, most people are not going to wait. But it's kedai to eat a little bit of bread, at least one slice of bread in the Sukkah to be yotze and to finish the meal at home. And as I said, if the rain will stop, it's worthwhile to go again to the Sukkah and eat another kezait of bread to fulfill the obligation according to all opinions. The Rogatchev Gaon, Tzafnat Paneach, thinks that what establishes Sukkah to be kosher in a certain sense, to make it your main dwelling, is the first meal that you eat at night on the night of Sukkot. That's why it's so important to eat that bread. That kind of establishes it and makes it into a sukkah, into a kind of dwelling for those days now. And the Talmud tells us that generally, if there is rain on the first day of Sukkot, maybe even on other days, but especially if it's on the first day, it's considered a bad sign. They compare it to a servant who prepared the wine for his master. They used to dilute the wine with water. So he wanted to prepare a glass of wine, and the master threw the wine into his face. That's what it is when Hashem sends rain to us on the night of Sukkot, as if He doesn't want our mitzvah. We want to serve Him and do the mitzvah, and Hashem says, I don't want your mitzvah. Throws it back into our face, kind of. So that's why people shouldn't be leaving the sukkah as the Talmud and the Shulchan Aruch says, in kind of a high spirit. Oh, great, now I could sit at home. The opposite. It's a terrible thing that we're not able to fulfill the mitzvah, and we're leaving it because it's raining. Now, a lot of people say that this bad sign was generally only in Israel, because in Israel there's usually no rain so early. Rain season starts sort of around Sukkot. That's why in the end we're going to start mentioning rain on Shmini Atzeret. But it's quite normal a lot of times to have the entire Sukkot without any rain. Certainly the first night it doesn't have to rain. But outside the land of Israel, since it rains all the time anyway, in places like Europe or America, therefore it's not really a bad sign if it rains. It's normal. So it could be that the whole statement is only applicable to the land of Israel. But it's interesting that this statement that they're comparing it to a servant who prepared the wine, the Vilna Gaon explains it in a Kabbalistic way. He says like this, that wine, according to Kabbalah, has to do with the left side, what they call gvura. And the mixing it with water represents, in this case, chesed, kindness. So mixing it with kindness is a necessary part to make the wine not as strong judgment. It shouldn't represent only strong judgment like pure wine. That wine used to be stronger. It's considered that in those times the wine was stronger than today, and they had to mix it with water. So the holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are, of course, days of judgment. And Sukkot is a kind of compensation. So when Hashem doesn't allow us to sit in the Sukkah, sends the rain, so in a way He tells us, I don't want to compensate the days of judgment with a rachamim, with a mercy. I don't want to mix the water with the wine. So that's why they use this parable according to the Vilna Gaon, that it's as if the servant prepared the wine with water he wanted to mix, and the master threw it back into his face. That's the kind of symbolic act that Hashem sends rain, especially on the first night of Sukkot, especially if it's in the land of Israel and we're not able to sit in the Sukkah and fulfill the mitzvah on the first night. In my experience, it almost never happened that the whole night, even here in America. I live in New York for already many, many years, and in the last at least 30 years, in my memory, there was not even one night on the first night of Sukkot that we weren't able to fulfill the eating of the kezait of bread sometime during the night when there was no rain. So we'll hope that this year again, Bezrat Hashem, will have a good holiday of Sukkot, and we'll be able to mix whatever judgment already happened. We'll mix it with the mercy, with the kindness of Hashem, and I wish everybody a happy holiday. This is the holiday of simplicity. Pesach also is a holiday of simplicity. There it's the simplicity of food, what enters us. But here the simplicity is around us. It's all surrounding us, the simple dwelling. And I hope we will deserve to have a good year. The end of the judgment is considered on Hoshana Rabbah and on Shmini Atzeret, the kind of full sealing of everything that happened until now. Even though our judgment was already sealed on Yom Kippur, but there is still some time when this is not fulfilled yet in a certain sense. It's still waiting to be fully sealed and fully given to be processed, if you could call it in today's language. So we still have a time now to serve Hashem with happiness. It's one of the happiest holidays, maybe the happiest holiday, especially the end, Simchat Torah. I wish everybody that this year our Simchat Torah will not have anything upsetting, the terrible day of Simchat Torah last year that brought us the terrible tragedy. Hopefully this year, Bezrat Hashem, we'll have a happy holiday. I wish everybody a happy holiday, and that we'll be able to serve Hashem with happiness, and that Hashem will give us the wonderful year.